بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. The imamate of Imam Al-Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif began on the 8th of Rabi' al-Awwal in the year 260 after Hijrah. And by the way, the 8th of Rabi' al-Awwal is in a few days, in about 2 weeks from now, because the next month after Safar is Rabi' al-Awwal. And we commemorate the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari alayhi salam on the 8th. And then on the 8th at night, in the afternoon, or the 9th, is the beginning of the 8th, immediately after the death of Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, began the imamah of his son, Imam Al-Mahdi. And he was 5 years old. And we mentioned how Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari alayhi salam, he announced to his companions, he lets them know, I have a new son, I have my only son, Imam Al-Mahdi, and he showed him only to some of the close companions. And then, when he passed away, before he passed away, he gathered his companions, he brought out Imam Al-Mahdi, and he tells them about the imamah of Imam Al-Mahdi. But we mentioned that immediately after the birth of Imam Al-Mahdi, the ghaibah began. The minor occultation, we have the minor ghaibah, al-ghaibatul sughra, and we have al-ghaibatul kubra, the greater occultation that we're in right now. The minor occultation is an occultation, a ghaibah that lasted for about 69, 70 years. From the beginning of the imamah, from the day of the death of Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, all the way till year 329. So from year 260 to 329, that's 69 years. 69, 70 years, that is the ghaibatul sughra. After that, after the ghaibatul sughra, a letter came from Imam Al-Mahdi telling the last of the deputies, the last of the nuwab, of the wakala, that from now on, do not appoint anyone after you. There's no one after you, and whoever claims that they have attachment or association, or they have seen the Imam al-Mushahada with, meaning that they are the representative of the Imam and Niyaba, then this person is a liar. So no one is a na'ib khas of the Imam. We have direct representative and we have general representative. An-na'ib al-khas wa an-na'ib al-am. These maraja' right now, our scholars, we call them nuwab am. They are general representatives of Imam al-Mahdi. They were not appointed by the Imam, but they are representing the Imam because they stand for the values and the teachings, and we take them as role models. They bring us closer to the Imam of our time and to our faith. However, sometimes the Imam, he appoints someone as na'ib khas. He tells him, I appoint you to go and sit here and give fatwa. I appoint you to do this and that. So the Imams, they had na'ib khas, direct representative, and they have general representative. The direct representatives are those who, during the time of Imam Sadiq, for example, he would send someone. During the time of Imam Al-Rida, Imam Al-Kadhim, he had wakala, he had deputies. During the time of Imam Al-Hadi, Imam Al-Askari, you see more of those. Imam Al-Askari, as we mentioned when we were talking about his life, Imam Al-Askari, for a big part of his life, he was also in a type of ghaibah where he was in his house. He was disconnected with the people. He tells people, if you see me in the street, don't say salam to me. Because his life was in danger and their life was in danger. So now the Imams, they started relying on wakala. If people, they have mas'ala, people they want to deliver khums, they want to deliver zakat, they want to deliver anything to the Imam, they would do it through the wakala. So these wakala, these deputies, they were the deputies of the Imams. Now during the ghaibatul sughra, Imam Al-Mahdi had 4 deputies. I wrote their name. Athman ibn Sa'id al-Amri, and Muhammad ibn Uthman, Hussein ibn Ruh al-Nawbakhti, Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari. These were the 4 deputies of Imam al-Mahdi. Inshallah, we will cover their lives. We will talk about them a little. Because their wakala, their period of representing Imam lasted for 70 years. And this information, if you want to figure out, if you want to read more about the ghaibah of Imam al-Mahdi, and you want to have a lot more information about this, and you want to know more about the occultation of the Imam, there are 2 very important books. One is Ghaibat al-Tusi, Shaykh al-Tusi, a sheikh that lived around 200 years after Imam al-Mahdi. So Shaykh al-Tusi, around 1,000 years ago, Shaykh al-Tusi, he wrote a book by the name of Al-Ghaibah. So it's called Ghaibat al-Tusi. And there's another book by the name of Ghaibat al-Nu'mani, another scholar, al-Nu'mani. Yes. He also wrote about the ghaibah and the signs of the emergence of the Imam and all of this. You will find a lot more information in that. Inshallah, today we will just summarize and we'll go through some of the information. So the first of the wakala of Imam al-Mahdi, and we mentioned, when did the wakala begin? Last week we got disconnected. For those who are in Zoom, we got disconnected. I don't know if you caught up. The sister, you're here. We talked about the people of Qom. The people of Qom, they came and they had carried zakat with them. They had carried zakat with them. They want to go to deliver it to Imam al-Askari. Once they go to Samarra, they came all the way from Qom. They go to Samarra, they find out that Imam Al-Hasan al-Askari has passed away. Who do they see? Telling them, give it to me? Ja'far al-Kadhab. Ja'far, the brother of Imam al-Askari, he's telling them, give me the zakat. They tell him, how? Tell us, show us a sign that you're the Imam after. They tell him, how much, what do we have with us? Because the Imam al-Askari and all the Imams, people used to go to them carrying money for X from this person, Y from this person. You know, a certain amount from different people, they're carrying it. So the Imam would tell them, for example, you have 5 dinar from Ali, 6 dinar from Fatima, this is from Hussein, this from... So he knows exactly. They asked him, how much do we have with us? He said, I have no clue. So they realize he's not the Imam. He goes and he tries to get them in trouble. Then they finally get to see Imam al-Mahdi. Imam al-Mahdi tells them, this is it. From now on, you deliver any question you have or any amana that you have to deliver, you deliver it to Uthman ibn Sa'id ibn Amr al-Asadi, the first of the Nawab. You deliver it to him in Baghdad, not in Samarra anymore. And you're not going to see me anymore. So this is why that event marks the beginning of the ghaibah. So Imam Al-Hasan al-Askari, they say he passed away at Fajr time, Imam Al-Hasan al-Askari. That event took place several hours later, once the people of Qom came, and he tells them, from now on, he is my wakil, and you give him anything, and you will see him in Baghdad. That is the beginning of the minor occultation. So the first of the wakala of Imam al-Mahdi is Uthman ibn Sa'id ibn Amr al-Asadi. And Uthman ibn Sa'id. So this man, one of his titles is As-Samman. As-Samman. He used to sell simon. What's simon? Simon is fat. You know the ghee, the decimil that's thick, that's hardened. That's how they used to sell oil before to cook.
I think before they used to call it Samman and Dukkan. Anybody knows Dukkan? Samman. I think
Dukkan? No. He used to sell simon. Simon means fat. So he used to sell oil. You know the cooking and the oil before it was solid. It was so solid. Even you go to Iraq, you go to some countries, you find it's solid oil. So he used to sell that, but that wasn't. He was just carrying on that business as a front, so that the authorities don't ask him, you know, what's going on. He used to carry these containers. Supposedly they have simon, they have oil in them. Instead, he used to put the zakat and the khums in it, and he used to deliver it to the Imam so that the authorities don't see. So this man, Uthman ibn Sa'id, he was a young child when he was a companion of Imam Al-Jawad. And then he became one of the wukala of Imam Al-Hadi. He became close to Imam Al-Hadi, he became his wakil. He used to take care of some of the business of Imam Al-Hadi. And then he became very close to Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari in the house of the Imam. Even when many people were not able to come to the house of the Imam, Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari, Uthman ibn Sa'id, he was always coming in and out of the house of the Imam. He was very close to the Imam. They say he even he participated in the burial, in the shrouding, in the ghusl of Imam Al-Hasan Al-Askari alayhi salam. And we mentioned when Imam Al-Mahdi was born, Imam Al-Askari, he says, go and buy so much pounds of meat and so much pounds of bread. He tells Uthman ibn Sa'id to go and distribute it to Bani Hashim. So he was the wakil of Imam Al-Mahdi for 5 years. From the year 260 until year 265. Because he was an older person. So from year 260 until year 265, the first 5 years of the imamah of Imam Al-Mahdi, and he died in year 265. They buried him in Baghdad. By the way, all of the nuwab of Imam Al-Mahdi, the deputies, are buried in Baghdad. That was the focal point, that was the center of the Muslim world at that time. People used to come from all over, and that's why the Imam, he wanted them to be there. And there was a large Shia population in Baghdad at that time. So Imam Al-Hadi, he has several statements about him. He says, هذا أبو عمرو الثقة الأمين. Abu Amr, this is his title. He says he is the thiqah, the trustworthy, al-amin. I trust him. In another hadith, Imam Al-Hadi, he says about him, ما قاله لكم فعني يقوله وما أداه إليكم فعني يؤديه. Imam Al-Hadi trusted him so much, he tells his Shia, because now people can't come and see the Imam. They don't have access. So they have access to this man. He has a store. He's selling simon. He's selling fat. So, and then he would come and go outside the house of the Imam. So the Imam, he says, whatever he tells you, then it's as if I have told you. And whatever he's given you, he's ordered you, it's as if I have ordered you. Then, after the death of Imam Al-Hadi, Imam Al-Askari also used this man as a very close companion who would connect the Imam with the Shia. So Imam Al-Askari has several statements about Abu Amr. Abu Amr, this is his title, Abu Amr, Uthman ibn Sa'id, ibn Amr al-Asadi. Also another title of his is Al-Askari, because he was also in Samarra with the Imam. So they also call him Al-Askari as well. So he says, Abu Amr al-Thiqa al-Amin. Same hadith. Thiqati fil hayat wal mamat. Imam Al-Askari, he says, I trust him in life and death issues. Meaning even after I die, I trust him. Yes, some of the wakala, they lost their trust. But this man, the Imam, he trusted him so much, where whenever people, they would come and they would see the Imam, he would say, come to him and ask him. I trust him so much. ما قال لكم فعني يقول وما أدى إليكم فعني يؤدي. Whatever he says to you, he's saying it from me. And whatever he's giving you, it's as if he's saying it in front of me. A group, they came, and the Imam, he told him to sign in front of them. He says, امضي يا عثمان فإنك الوكيل والثقة المأمون على مال الله. Imagine someone who is so trusted by the Imam. He says, Imam tells him, sign, O Uthman, because you are the wakil, you are the representative. وَالثِّقَةِ, the trustworthy, al-ma'moon ala malillah. I trust you, not on my wealth. I trust you on the wealth that belongs to Allah, because the khums and the zakat, it's not my money and people's money. It's money that belongs to Allah. So, Imam Al-Askari was very close to Abu Amr. His kunya is Abu Amr, Uthman ibn Sa'id. So when also the hadith we mentioned that when Imam 40 days or before the death of Imam Al-Askari, he called about 40 of his companions. We mentioned this. He tells them that after me is Imam Al-Mahdi, and then he also tells them that my wakil is Abu Amr, and he is going to be the wakil of my son Imam Al-Mahdi. So Uthman ibn Sa'id was very close to Imam Al-Askari, Imam Al-Hadi, Imam Al-Jawad, Imam Al-Hadi, Imam Al-Askari, and Imam Al-Mahdi. But he was the wakil of Imam Al-Hadi and Imam Al-Askari and Imam Al-Mahdi. Imam Al-Jawad, he was young during the life of Imam Al-Jawad. So, yes, sister.
Around what age was he when
They don't mention when he was born, but he died in year 65, 265. He was probably a little bit older. I mean, they don't mention all of them. I saw that they didn't say when they were born. We know the year they passed away because that was the year that the next person received the wakala, and we know the letter that came. We don't know when they were born. But this man, they say during the life of Imam Al-Jawad, he became companions with Imam Al-Jawad. He was young. He was around 9, 10 years old. So we could, if we look at the dates, we could calculate around how old, around the age of this young, this wakil. So, and we mentioned in the story of the people of Qawm, when they came to Imam Al-Mahdi, he tells them, my wakil is Uthman ibn Sa'id. He tells them that. So he moved to Baghdad immediately after the death of Imam Al-Askari, and according to our information, according to the hadith that we have, is that Imam Al-Mahdi left Samarra. He did not stay in Samarra. We mentioned that he left. He might have been to Medina, to Mecca, Baghdad, somewhere else, but he was not in Samarra. And for the first 5 years, Uthman ibn Sa'id was the representative of Imam Al-Mahdi. He used to take letters, he used to connect with people. People would ask questions, they would come to him, and a few days later, a letter would come to him with the signature and the handwriting of Imam Al-Mahdi, and then he would read it in front of the people. So after him came Muhammad ibn Uthman. Muhammad, the son of Uthman. Yes.
he stayed 5 years ago?
5 years. Until he passed away.
يعني كان عمره 10 سنين الإمام المهدي لما
Yes. Imam Al-Mahdi was 10 years old when Uthman ibn Sa'id passed away. And then came after him Muhammad ibn Uthman. Muhammad ibn Uthman, his wakala lasted for 40 years. 40 years. He was the longest of those who were the wakala of Imam Al-Mahdi. Muhammad ibn Uthman. So he is the son of this person. And Muhammad ibn Uthman, he was also a companion of Imam Al-Askari and Imam Al-Mahdi. So he lived, because he was his son, so he was older. He would also take some hadith from Imam Al-Askari as well. So Muhammad ibn Uthman, he buried his father in Baghdad, and while he was burying his father, and the grave of Uthman ibn Sa'id, Shaykh al-Tusi, who came 200 years later, he would go and visit the grave of Uthman ibn Sa'id. In his book he says, and I have visited his grave. This is over 1,000 years ago. So it means he was a known figure in the community. And yes,
he's buried in Baghdad.
he's buried in Baghdad, yes. So Uthman ibn Sa'id told his companions that he told his companions that the special representation moves on to his son. So before Uthman ibn Sa'id passed away, he tells the Shia of the time, my son is the wakil and the wakil of the deputy of Imam Al-Mahdi. And while he was washing the body and burying his father, soon after, a letter, and it's called a tawqi'. When they talk about the letters of Imam Al-Mahdi, they say a tawqi'. And they wouldn't mention the name of the Imam because it was dangerous. They never used to mention the name, they didn't talk. They used to say tawqi' min al-nahiya al-muqaddasa. This is why one of the names of Imam Al-Mahdi, they say al-nahiya al-muqaddasa. What does nahiya mean? From the holy direction. So they say we received a letter from the holy direction. Min al-nahiya al-muqaddasa. This is why there's a ziyarah of Imam Al-Hussein, ziyarat al-nahiya. What is it? It's ziyarah of Imam Al-Mahdi, but they say ja'at min al-nahiya. It came from the holy direction. So Uthman ibn Sa'id, he receives a letter. Muhammad ibn Uthman, he receives a letter, Imam Al-Mahdi giving him condolences about his father, Uthman ibn Sa'id. And the letter says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, tasliman li amrihi wa ridan bi qada'ih. To Allah we belong and to Him we return, and we surrender to the order and will of Allah. Asha abuka sa'idan wa mata hamida. فرحمه الله وألحقه بأوليائه ومواليه عليهم السلام. Your father lived a good life and he died at a good life, a good ending. فرحمه الله, may Allah have mercy on him. وألحقه بأوليائه, and may Allah connect him with his leaders, أوليائه ومواليه عليهم السلام. And then he says, أجزل الله لك الثواب وأحسن لك العزاء رزيت ورزينا وأوحشك فراقه وأوحشنا فسره الله في منقلبه. He says, may Allah reward you and make your aza an easy aza and remove the wahsha, the loneliness that you have lost your father, because we have also lost him. وَأَوْحَشَكَ وَأَوْحَشَنَا, meaning he was so close to the Imam that the Imam says his loss also breaks my heart as well. وَأَوْحَشَنَا فَسَرَّهُ اللَّهُ فِي مُنْقَلَبِهِ, and may Allah give him an easy ending. And then Imam al-Mahdi, he praised, in the letter he praised Muhammad ibn Uthman. He says, your father was lucky to have a son like you, and you are going to take the position of your father, Uthman ibn Sa'id. Yes, so through that letter, he's giving him condolences and he's telling him, from now on, I'm going to be connecting with you. And he would receive the letter with the handwriting of Imam al-Mahdi. And these wukala, when the letter would come to them, they would show it to the people. So the people, they knew the handwriting of the Imam. And you see that the same handwriting carries on with all of the representatives. And that was one of the ways where they knew that this was the Imam. And it was a specific handwriting. So Muhammad ibn Uthman, his kunya is Abu Ja'far al-Amri. So the first one, his kunya is Abu Amr. Abu Amr. This one, his kunya is Abu Ja'far. So sometimes they call him Muhammad ibn Uthman, sometimes they say Abu Ja'far. So Imam al-Askari, he said about him, Muhammad ibn Uthman, because we said he lived during the time of al-Askari. He said, وَاشْهَدُوا عَلَيَّ أَنَّ عُثْمَانِ بن سعيد وَكِيلِي وَأَنَّ ابْنَهُ مُحَمَّد وَكِيل إِبْنِي مَهْدِيَكُمْ. So a group of people, they came from Yemen to see Imam al-Askari. He tells them, my wakil is Uthman ibn Sa'id. And his son, Muhammad ibn Uthman, is the wakil of my son, Mahdiyukum, your Mahdi. Okay? And you will find these in Ghaybat al-Tusi, the book by Shaykh al-Tusi. Muhammad ibn Uthman, Abu Ja'far, he was the wakil of Imam al-Mahdi for 40 years. Until his death, year 305. 305 after Hijrah. So the first one died 265. This one, 305. Died. Okay? So 305, and this is 40 years. 40 years. So now you have 45 years. If you add them together, and with the age of the Imam is around 50 years at that time. So there are many narrations from in another hadith, Imam al-Askari, he says, Al-Amri wabnuhu al-Thiqatan al-Ma'munan. Amri and his son, they are the thiqah, they are the two thiqah, and the two trustworthy ones, the ones that we trust. And I trust them with the matters of the religion. Okay? So, Muhammad ibn Uthman, he was the connection of the Imam with the Shia. He would receive the letters and he would connect them and he would tell them the ahkam, like a marja today. You send him a fatwa, he waits a while, and then he receives a letter from the Imam and he would answer. And he also wrote his own fiqhi book. He was a scholar. So he also has a book of fiqh and Islamic laws, which he heard from Imam al-Askari. Because he was also, Muhammad ibn Uthman, he was also the student of Imam al-Askari. One thing they say about him is he knew the time of his death. And this was because Imam al-Mahdi told him about it. So he used to prepare for his own grave. He went and he dug a grave next to his mother, not next to his father. His father is in west of Baghdad. He went in a different place. And his place is visited until today. He went and he dug a grave. And he made what they call a saj. or a tombstone. He wrote on it verses of the Quran and the names of all of the Imams. And he used to go and enter and sit in the grave and recite a juz'u of the Quran every day. They would tell him, "What are you doing?" He says, "I have been given an order to prepare for my matters, to prepare for myself." So he would do that. The companion, he says, "I came a while later, around 2 months later." For 2 months he started doing that. He says, "I came 2 months later and I saw that he had passed away, or he was passing away. And when he died, he asked the third one, Al-Hussein ibn Ruh al-Nawbakhti." Al-Nawbakhti is a big clan from Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. He says, "I asked him to be the one who is the third deputy of the Imam." And he was buried in an area in Baghdad today by the name of Al-Khallani. Today, the graves of all four of the Nawab are known. They're close to Qazwini and that area. You could find the graves of these noblemen. The third one who came after was Al-Hussein ibn Ruh al-Nawbakhti, or otherwise known as Abu al-Qasim. Al-Hussein ibn Ruh was very close to Muhammad ibn Uthman, but not that close. Muhammad ibn Uthman was like a big marja. He has 10 people around him. This one takes care of this duty, that one takes care of that duty. He was widely accepted and widely respected. So there's about 10 of his close students, or close, those who are with him and helping him in carrying out the duties of the Imam. So there were some that were closer to Muhammad ibn Uthman than Al-Hussein ibn Ruh.
So the expectation was maybe
He will ask someone else who they thought was closer. Suddenly a letter comes that Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, he is the one who is the representative after. So, and 2 years before his death, Imam Al-Mahdi gave him an order to start preparing Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. Because Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, not many people knew him. He did not live during the time of Imam Al-Askari. Muhammad ibn Uthman and Uthman ibn Sa'id, they lived during the time of Al-Askari, so they have a lot of praise, and in front of the Imams, they saw the Imam praising them. So no one was doubting them. So now Imam Al-Mahdi, he wants to have a transfer, and so that no one comes and claims that they have the leadership. So 2 years before Muhammad ibn Uthman passes away, he starts preparing for Hussein ibn Ruh. He starts preparing. And there's a story, it says that a person came and brought 400 dinars. 400 dinars to Muhammad ibn Uthman to give it to the Imam. Because they used to bring their khums and he would deliver it to the Imam. So Muhammad ibn Uthman, he tells the person, give it to Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. The person first was worried. He said, no, you are the representative of Imam Al-Mahdi. Why do I have to give it to Hussein ibn Ruh? He tells him, this is the order of Sahib al-Zaman. This is the order of the Imam. Give it to Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. And they say that even until the time of his death, not many people knew about, or they gave him, they thought that he was going to have that position. So Muhammad ibn Uthman was passing away. One of his companions is by his head, and Al-Hussein ibn Ruh is by his feet. The person by his head, he tells him, Liman al-amr min ba'dak, who is going to be after you? So then he says, Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. So that person immediately, he goes next to the feet and he brings Al-Hussein ibn Ruh next to the head. This shows that there was a hierarchy, and Muhammad ibn Uthman, because he was ordered by the Imam to elevate Al-Hussein ibn Ruh and to give him the position of authority. Yes, sister. Yes.
When they used to take the hummus on the behalf of the Imam, they used to give it to the Imam to distribute, or they used to...
So sometimes they would give it to the Imam in the same way they exchanged the letters with the Imam. Other times, the Imam would tell them, spend this much on this family, spend on this, spend on this. Because the Imam would tell them exactly how to spend it. Now the maraja, they are wukala am, they are general representative. They don't have a direct order from the imam, give this much, give that much. They know the general guidelines and they come and they spend it in the way that would please the imam. But those individuals, no, they have a direct order. Give 500 to this, give 100, build this, build this house for this person, feed this family, do this and do that. The imam would not take money for himself. All the imams, they would spend it on people. So either he would take it and in an indirect way he would give it to people, or he would tell this person, give to such and such. Because they were the leaders of the Shia at the time. So all of the Shias were unanimous that these were the leaders. See, right now, we have this marja and you have that marja and you have so many maraja. There's no one person that has, all the Shias are unanimous that he is our... During the good thing about during their time, there were some times where some claimed that they were the Nuwab of the Imam. Like during the time of Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, there were some that claimed they were the Nuwab of the Imam. And even during the time of Athman ibn Sa'id, there was an individual, inshallah we'll cover that later on, who claimed that he was the representative of the Imam. And the Imam with a letter, he came and he said, this person's fasiq. Yes. So Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, he was instated as the leader, and he was the leader until year 326. Died year 326. So that makes him about 21 years. About 21 years, he was receiving letters from the Imam and he was connected with the Imam. And he received a letter after the death of Muhammad ibn Uthman. He received a letter from the Imam praising him and telling him, you are the next representative. And then the Shi'as, they started coming to him. Al-Hussein ibn Ruh. Now, you move on to the last one. The last one who was only wakil for 3 years, because he died year 329. 329. And with him came the end of the Ghaybat al-Sughra. And he was Abu Al-Hasan Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari. Abu Al-Hasan is his kunya, Ali, son of Muhammad, and his last name is al-Samari. So during his time, the political circumstances started becoming shaky. A lot of people started losing faith in the Imam. Like today, some people, they said, how could we, what kind of, it's been close to 70 years. Some people started losing faith in the Imam. The politics of the time, the social and political circumstances of the time made the Shi'as, they were living in extreme taqiyya. Extreme taqiyya where they were not able to, do so much. So Abu al-Hasan, Ali ibn Muhammad, he was respected, but his status was not like those before him. There was a unanimous consensus, and they had parts of the time they had some relative freedom, so people were able to connect with them. During his time, there was a lockdown. No one was able to connect with Ali ibn Muhammad. So his deputyship lasted for 3 years, and several days before his death, 6 days before his death, he receives a letter from Imam Al-Mahdi. In this letter, the Imam says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Ya Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samri, أعظم الله أجر إخوانك فيك فإنك ميت ما بينك وبين 6 أيام. The Imam tells him, my condolences to your community, to your brothers, with your death, because you are going to die within the next 6 days. فاجمع أمرك ولا توصي إلى أحد فيقوم مقامك بعد وفاتك. Prepare yourself for your death, and do not give wasiyah to anyone after you. That's it. So no one's going to come after you. The others before him, they received the wasiyah at their hours of death or before their death. They received the wasiyah, pass it on to this person. This one, the Imam tells him, don't give wasiyah. فَقَدْ وَقَعَتِ الْغَيْبَةِ التَّامَّةِ. Now, the غَيْبَةِ الْكُبْرى is going to begin. فلا ظهور إلا بإذن الله تعالى ذكره. There's no more ظهور, no more appearance, except by the permission of Allah. وذلك بعد طول الأمد. This is going to be after a long time. وقسوة القلوب, and the hearts are going to be hardened. وامتلاء الأرض جورا, and the earth will be filled with oppression. وسيأتي لشيعتي من يدعي المشاهدة. Someone will come to my Shia and they will tell them, I saw the Imam, I connected with the Imam told me this and that. ألا فمن ادعى المشاهدة قبل خروج السفياني والصيحة فهو كذاب مفتر. Whoever, then the Imam says, whoever claims the mushahada, that they saw the Imam and not only saw the Imam. Scholars, they say, some people until now they see the Imam. They say al-mushahada here, the Imam is saying al-mushahada bin niyaba, meaning that anyone who says I am the wakil of the Imam, anyone who says I am the representative of the Imam told me to do this and do that, then this person is a liar. You know, in Iraq you have some other places as well. You know, there are some of those who they come and they say, I drank tea with Imam Al-Mahdi, I did this and I did that. You find some of those. Anyone who says anything like that is a liar. The Imam says, ألا فمن ادعى المشاهدة قبل خروج السفياني, before the emergence of Sufyani. So Sufyani is one of those things that will surely happen. والصيحة, and the loud صيحة, the loud cry. فهو كذاب مفتر. This person is a liar and lying on Allah and the Imams. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. And there is no strength except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The narrator, he says, we received this letter and Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samri, he gave it to us and we distributed this letter. We distributed it, we made copies and we gave it. Meaning to let people know there's no more niyaba after Ali ibn Muhammad. Then the narrator, he says, on the 6th day, we came and we saw Ali ibn Muhammad was ill and he was dying. He was in his last moments. So he says that we were gathered around him. Someone asked him, لمن الأمر من بعدك? Who is the wakil after you? He replied, لله الأمر هو بالغه. The matter belongs to Allah, and that was the last word that he uttered and he passed away. لله الأمر هو بالغه. And he died and they buried him in Baghdad. That was the beginning of Ghaybat al-Kubra, the greater occultation that we're in right now. From year 329 until now, 1442. We are in the Ghaybat al-Kubra and we wait and anticipate the emergence of the Imam of our time. They buried Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samari in Baghdad, and the minor occultation lasted for 69 years and 6 months and 15 days. That's all. So 69 years and a half, basically. Yes, and 15 days. Yes. During those 69 years, six Abbasi Khalifas ruled. One was Al-Mu'tamid, who was the one who poisoned Imam Al-Askari. And then came Al-Mu'tadid. Al-Muhtadi was before them. Yes. And then came Al-Mu'tadid. And then Al-Muktafi. And then Al-Muqtadir. And then Al-Qahir Billah. And then Al-Radi Billah. They came and ruled during that time. And they were just like those before them. They were weak because they were controlled by the Turkish in their around them. But they showed, they were rough with the Shia, except some of them, except the second one, Al-Mu'tadid, who came after Al-Mu'tamid. They say there were some times where he was good with the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And this was something that he was being normal. He didn't persecute them, so they say he was good. Because all of the others, they would persecute the children of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes. And because he saw a dream, he saw Imam Ali in the dream, and Imam Ali tells him, don't oppress my progeny, don't oppress my children. And he used to curse Muawiyah. Today, they say, you Shias curse Muawiyah. This was a Khalifa of the Muslimin. Al-Mu'tadid. He was also the one who moved the Khilafah from Samarra back to Baghdad. So now the Khilafah is moved back to Baghdad. And during that time, during those 6 rulers that ruled in 69 years, there were several times where they tried to raid and tried to find out where Imam al-Mahdi is. And they would try to look for clues to see where Imam al-Mahdi is. So one of the ways where the Imams would connect with the Shia during that time was that some of the close companions, from what I read, it seems that some of those who were close companions of the Imam, they would see the Imam. Now the Nuwab were only 4, but so there were some others who would see the Imam at times. Second, there were the letters that would come from the Imam. How are people supposed to believe in the Imam who they haven't seen? The letters that would come from the Imam, they had certain signs and code. For example, I tell you what you did before you came home in a letter. You say that no one knows this except Allah, but then the Imam, he comes and he gives them a letter, or how much you have in your pocket, these type of things. How much is your khums, all these secret things that only a person, they know about themselves. The letter would come and they would tell. So that was a sign that they saw that this is the letter from the Imam of our time. The Imam would answer difficult questions. They would have difficult questions that even the deputy, even the wakalat, they couldn't answer. The Imam alayhi salam, he would come and he would give an answer to these difficult questions. Another thing is the handwriting of the Imam. They all knew, they knew the handwriting of the Imam. I wanted to see if any of these letters have remained so that we could see the handwriting of the Imam. I'll look for that, but I don't know. That would be very amazing. I don't know if any of those letters have remained, because even though a lot of our books and during the time of Shaykh al-Tusi, they burned his library and a lot of these things, but if one of these has remained, that would be very amazing to see. Another very important point is that the Imam had to protect his identity. So from one aspect, he has to show signs to the Shias that he's their Imam and connect with them. From another sign, he has to protect his identity. So only specific people saw the Imam. And they were ordered not to speak about him and ordered not to say his name. The Imam would move several places. So he would always change positions and change places. He would move. Because otherwise they would, if they find any clues, they would come and they would try to find the Imam and arrest him. And there was total secrecy, meaning that the matter was a very serious matter. They had a question, they would give a letter to the wakil. Several days later, the wakil, he receives a letter, he tells them, I received this from the Imam. Yes.
During that time, like now the other school of thought, they say that the Imam wasn't born, Imam Al-Hussein didn't have any sons, and the Imam Al-Mahdi, they believe that it's going to come at the end of the time, but he's not born yet. So was there a publicity during that time that the Imam is not born?
Not amongst the Shia.
No, among the other school of thought, I mean.
Yes.
People who are ruling.
Yes, because they didn't know of his birth. Mm-hmm. So we mentioned even the birth of the Imam was a secret birth. Okay. So because many people didn't know, so they say that we don't have any proof that he was born. But the Shia, who were close with Imam Al-Askari, they knew. And then their followers who came after, they knew. And then for 70 years, the Imam is writing letters, he's giving them. So, and we have many ahadith that there are 12 Imams, there are 12. Imam Al-Askari was the 11th. So this wakil, he says, I received a letter from the Nahiya al-Muqaddasa. They would look at it, they would see a miracle in it, some type of information that they don't have access to, so they believe that he was born.
What I mean is that the rulers, they knew the truth, that there's an Imam Mahdi that was born. But they kept it a secret from the public, telling them that he hasn't been born, because they were looking for him.
Yes. Well, they were looking for him, but they didn't, the rulers, they knew. But those who wrote, because they don't want to accept or they don't want to acknowledge that he's been born, so some of them, they say he hasn't been born yet. Yes. Some of them did believe because they saw the signs. But today, the mainstream narrative with the majority non-Shias is that he wasn't born yet. Yes. So another very important way to preserve not only the life of the Imam but the Shi'as is that the Nuwab, they had to practice full taqiyya. They had to practice taqiyya. For example, Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, he goes to a session where the majority of the people, they hated him. Then they start having an argument. One says, Umar is better than Ali ibn Abi Talib, or Ali ibn Abi Talib is better. Another says, no, Uthman is better, or Uthman is better than Ali ibn Abi Talib, or Ali ibn Abi Talib is better than Uthman. Al-Hussein ibn Ruh, he goes and he says, Abu Bakr is the greatest, and then Umar, and then Uthman, and then Ali ibn Abi Talib. So when he did that, they say that everyone, they started praising him in the majlis. Now, this man, he wouldn't do something on his own, because he's the wakil of the Imam. He is the representative, and he has been ordered, because if he had not done that, probably thousands of Shi'as would have been killed at that time, just as we've seen in history. So the Imam, he has been watching over, even though he's in a ghaiba. Inshallah, later on we'll talk about why the ghaiba and how we benefit from the Imam during a ghaiba. But the Imam was watching over the Shi'as and the matters of the Shia. Even if he's in a ghaiba, he's been preserving. Read history and see what the Shi'as have been through ever since the time of the Imams. Do you think there would be any Shi'as left today? No. They've been persecuted, they've been attacked, they've been killed. So much has happened, but because of the inayah, because of the, Allah's compassion, that the Shia has survived until this day. The only way we could explain is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected the mu'mineen.
Until now, like in our country and there's still like oppression and there's still like taqiyya.
Yes, of course.
Till now the Shia are oppressed.
Of course. So, one other thing, inshallah we'll talk, in the next session we'll talk more about some of the important features of the ghaiba and moving on to the ghaibat al-kubra. One other very important thing I read about is that the Imam, during those 6 khulafa, the Imam did not talk about political issues. He only talks about masail shar'i, like the letters, this is halal, this is haram, you should do this, you should do that, only addressing certain questions. One is because the Imam did not want, because the Imam was also in taqiyya and did not want to attract attention. Before, during the time of Al-Mutawakkil, during the time of Harun, during the time of the Shi'as, they would have uprisings and the government would crush them, they would kill all of them. So now the Imam, he would not give the authorities any reason to come and question or to come and have doubt in the Shi'as and, these people, they were trying to uprise against us. So the Imam did not talk about any political, telling this person, go do a revolution here, go and stand and rebel against the Khalifa. He wouldn't tell them. Because the Imam, the Shi'as were of 2 types. There were one who were very disconnected with the Imam. So if a letter comes from this man, from these wakala, revolt against this Khalifa, they're probably not going to believe it, because they're not even seeing the Imam with their own eyes. The people who used to see the Imams, they did not follow the orders of the Imams. Now imagine the Imam through a wakil, he's telling them rebel against this. And the other reason is that the Imam, he knows each person, they know what their wadhifa is, what their duty is. So they knew what they had to do. So the Imam, in order not to endanger the lives of his followers, there was none of the letters that came from the Imam have any political or social other socio-political issues. It's addressing halal and haram and fiqh and these type of things. Second reason is that the letters were mostly replies. Not very little were the letters beginning, like do this or do that. But most of the time they were replies to the questions that the wakalat they had for the Imam, and then the reply would come several days later. Inshallah, in the next session we will talk more about the ghaiba, and we will also discuss the ghaibat al-kubra, going into ghaibat al-kubra. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi al-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.